A very pleasant good afternoon and welcome to the rush this afternoon. We want to say thank you very much. It is the 30th of March, it is Tuesday, and we're happy to have you here. Join us on the rush. My name is Randolph Critchlow. I want to say thank you very much to all of those persons who are joining us. We want to say, of course, a very special welcome to those persons who are first time viewers of the show. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for being here this afternoon as we continue to bring you the credible and valid information. Welcome, one and all. It has been 393 days since the March 2nd regional and general elections, and we still do not have credible results from those elections as yet. 240 days of this fraudulent administration, 240 days since they would have been installed into government, and we continue to watch their actions as the fraudulent, illegitimate, de facto administration runs the country. Welcome. Let us know where you're joining us from. Let us know where you're joining us from. I'm sure you have seen the headlines. We have lots to talk about this afternoon. Lots to get into, lots to unpack, as I like to say on the rush. We're going to be unpacking all of that this afternoon. Lots and lots of would have happened over the weekend. We had a national holiday yesterday, and so we're live today right here on the rush, where you get the credible and valid information. Where do you get the credible and valid information? Right here on the afternoon rush with yours truly, Randolph Critchlow. To those joining us internationally, in the region, and right here in Guyana, we want to say thank you. Let us know where you're joining us from. Barbados in the house, New York, New Jersey. Good afternoon. Right, folks, we're going to get into the credible news, the credible information about Bar Jagdeo in just a few. Of course, many of you would have already seen the headlines, but we're going to unpack it. And let me promise you that we will have former Minister of Public Infrastructure, also former Minister within the Ministry of Communities responsible for housing, Ms. Annette Ferguson, on the show to talk about that judgment, and we're going to get to that in the news segment. So just hold straight, let the others come in, and as you come, share the live stream. Let your friends and family know that we are live on the rush this afternoon, bringing you credible and valid information. Texas in the house, thank you very much. Essequibo, thank you very much for tuning in this afternoon. BVI, thank you very much for tuning in this afternoon also. Right. We want to say thank you. Of course, share the live stream. Credible and valid information is about to be shared this afternoon as we unpack. Again, later in the show, we're expecting my special guest for this afternoon, the former Minister of Public Infrastructure, Minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, and of course, the Minister responsible for housing, former Minister Annette Ferguson, who is going to be helping me unpack this big breaking news today. Big breaking news about lots of revelations coming out of the courts. So we got Miami in the house. Welcome. So there's a lot of opinions going out there about this judgment. So let us jump right into that this afternoon, because that is the big breaking news that we have. Not necessarily new, but it's still breaking for this show. And that is that, as you can see here, the High Court orders Jagdeo to pay Annette Ferguson $20 million in libel judgment. Of course, this coming from the news source Guyana. The High Court ordered Jagdeo to pay Annette Ferguson $20 million. And of course, we would have covered that lawsuit back when she had filed it. This is the conclusion, the culmination of that case. And we are going to see, we're going to be discussing this afternoon with the minister herself as she comes on to see whether or not, what are her thoughts. And I know persons have lots of opinions about whether or not this will happen. What what will be the response on the part of the fraudulent administration. But we will see, and we'll have that conversation. We also, of course, bring you this from another page. This is Big Smith News, I think, that broke that news first. The court orders. The court order seen by the publication made it clear that if Jagdeo fails to comply with the terms of the order, he will be held in contempt of court and may be liable to imprisonment, or to have his assets confiscated. And in the meantime, Ferguson's lawsuit against the Guyana Times is still before the court. Right, folks. The fraudulent VP, the fraudulent vice president, ordered to pay $20 million to former Minister Annette Ferguson and libel charges. Interesting news this afternoon. What are your thoughts? Let us know what you think in the comment sections so we can share with our viewers. Let us know what you think about this in the comment sections. Right? Let us know what you think about this particular judgment heard today. Fraudulent vice president ordered to pay $20 million to Annette Ferguson as he's found guilty of libel charges. And of course, the court made it very clear that he is to comply. Remember earlier in the month, or late last month, it was Mr. Glenn Lal who was ordered to pay Ramatar, I think, some sum of money, some large sum of money. I think it was 14 million or something like that. Don't quote me on that. I may stand correct. But we see this particular case, the former minister Annette Ferguson winning that case. There's also a suit against the Guyana Times that is still in the court, and we'll be hearing about that a little sooner. And of course, when she comes on this afternoon, she will be here joining us on the program a little later, as we just give you this information now. Right? She will be here a little later on the program, and she'll be explaining to you what this is all about, how she intends to move forward with this. And of course, we are going to be here. I am almost certain you're going to be hearing from the take back man himself. The take back man himself, the man who seems to be charged with the responsibility of taking back lands from Afro-Guyanese, the Attorney General, right, or whoever it is that is representing the Vice President in this case. You're going to be hearing from them very soon, very, very soon. But of course, the court ordering that Mr. Jagdeo pays up. I think this is the issue surrounding or that has to do with the former minister's house and some allegation about land. So we are going to be getting to the bottom of this. We're going to get all the information from Annette Ferguson a little later on when she comes to join the show. I just wanted to jump ahead with that, folks, but we have lots more in the news to deal with this afternoon. Lots more. Let's go back from the starting. Again, welcome, share the live stream. Welcome to the Rush for Tuesday, the 30th of March, 2021. My name is Randolph Critchlow. Let's go from the top. I like to give you the numbers. We gave you those numbers that we've always given you every single day, 393 days now since the March 2nd regional and general elections. And we still do not have credible results from those elections. 240 days since this fraudulent administration was installed. But folks, let's get to what I like to call bad numbers. Folks, today is the 30th of March. And today, 2 more COVID deaths were announced by the Ministry of Health. 2 more COVID-related deaths. That brings the number to 231 persons. 231 persons. Right? That number and this particular report that I'm showing you here was done a little before I came on air. We saw news about 2 more persons. March has been the deadliest month in 2021 regarding COVID-19 in Guyana. The total of 32 persons, this is now to 34 persons, lost their lives to this virus. And this was as of the 29th. This was of yesterday. This number has increased today. And we don't know what tomorrow will bring. This is unbelievable. We've had over a person a day dying from this virus in the month of March in Guyana. This is unbelievable. Folks, and people have not started to take this thing seriously. They have not started to take this thing seriously. And we're continuing to see the death rate go up. Just recently, Minister Ramjatan calls on the government to demonstrate leadership in the COVID fight. My colleague Sherrod Duncan showed you a video where he juxtaposed what the Minister of Education said in her PAGWA message about wearing a mask, about enjoying the holiday safely. And he juxtaposed that image with the images of Dharam Lal and the other ministers having a lovely time with no mask, enjoying the PAGWA. It's simple and clear that this government has not shown any leadership when it comes to fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. They have not led by example. Many of them are defaulters themselves. Whether it be partying in sleeping or holding these public events where they're seen interacting with other people without masks. Meanwhile, our country has seen the deadliest month of this pandemic, where more than 1 person a day would have died. This is serious, folks. This is extremely serious, and we need to take it seriously. And you know, it is sad that we have to be saying this over and over on shows like these. Sad. As I said, former Minister Ramjatan said it very clearly. And the government isn't showcasing any sort of leadership. Took several government ministers to task for not observing COVID-19 protocols that were in place. We talk about the likes of Dharam Lal and the likes of Anand Lal, who were seen enjoying the PAGWA without taking the precautions that one of the other ministers on the same day would have been calling for the citizens. It's a do as I say, not as I do mentality. Do as I say. Wear your mask, but we should go and we can party and we can play PAGWA and we'll do everything without the mask. It's a really, really sad situation in this country. A really sad situation, and we hope those persons in authority start to lead by example. Really hope that those persons start to lead by example. Folks, these are bad numbers. These are extremely bad numbers, and I'm hoping that we are cognizant of this in this country and we're paying attention to what is happening. right? We're going to be moving on from this, folks. We're going to be moving on from this, and we're going to go to in the news. Folks, as we talk right now, the nurses in Linden are still resisting. The nurses in Linden, they are still insisting that Mr. Rudy Small must go. So that is in the news. That is still in the news. We still have the family of the Henry boys calling for justice. The family of Harrison calling for justice. These things have not disappeared. This is not magical. This government continues to insist on doing nothing and hoping that things will disappear. So this is what we're seeing in this country. Folks, we want to say thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining the live stream this afternoon. Also in the news, we saw over the weekend lots of development as it relates to the murder, assassination of Mr. Ricardo Fagundes outside of Palm Court, and we saw lots of news being made in that regard. We saw the funeral, and then of course we heard Shahid Roger Khan speaking at the funeral and implicating or suggesting that the police force has not done their due diligence. The video was circulated. I'm sure if you haven't, you can go look at it. But this forced the police force to put out a statement saying that they're doing everything, and they refuted the statements or the sentiments of Mr. Roger Khan. Folks, accuse the police force. Roger Khan demands justice for Mr. Fagundes and accuses the state security of failing. He's failed the people, and he said that the state security failed the people and failed. He's failing Guyana, and he's failed the victims. The police force, of course, assures that the investigation into the execution was not compromised, and they are doing all that they should do to resolve that matter. These are things in the news, folks. Very, very interesting developments in the news. But of course, we are, and we looked at these things, and as Guyanese citizens, there are certain questions, and an interesting statement coming out of all of this over the weekend. All right. More questions than answers. Way more questions than answers. And, we hope that the police can answer those questions. All right. But of course, the police force coming out, putting out a statement the same night, refuting a number of things said by Mr. Roger Khan. Folks, but we are looking at our main story today. As we await Miss Annette Ferguson. Right? Miss Annette Ferguson to come on and share with us this afternoon a bit of what is happening on her end as we see that court case being settled there. Right? See if we can get that sorted. Right. Right. Folks, outside of COVID, there is a burning question, and I got this from the comment sections. Persons are inquiring as to what is happening with those persons, or what is to be made, those persons who are given pink slips. It is the 30th of March. COVID-19 grants have been distributed almost in the entire country. Thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of persons were skipped. They were given pink slips and told that they will be dealt with at a later date. So the question this afternoon, folks, what is happening to those persons who were given pink slips? There was no timeline set out by the ministry as to say we will return in 1 month. Where those persons who were given pink slips will be given their COVID relief. It has been over a year now that the entire world will have been gripped by this COVID-19. Gripped. And we are here in this country unable to execute the distribution of COVID-19 at a minuscule amount of money. Right? Little over 100 US. That will probably get you some groceries to last you a week if you have a family of 3 at minimum. This little money. We had to have so much confusion. Where persons have reported that entire households were given this money. You don't have to provide anything, just show your ID and you'll get $25,000 in certain communities. On the other hand, when you reach certain other green communities, they're asking you to provide birth certificate. Well, I'm just exaggerating here. But you're asked if you own the house. You're asked if you own the house, and if you don't own the house you're living in, then you're given a pink slip. What sort of madness is that? Those are the persons who need it more. Those are the persons who are in need. So we've come all the way to the end of this process. I have not heard about a region that has not seen distribution. So it's safe to say that all of the regions' distributions were done. Yet there are thousands of persons, legitimate persons who have legitimate needs, who are waiting for a little relief, who are bypassed because you've put in place a discriminatory system that allows your field agents on the ground to come up with rules and try to siphon off some money from people and do a little run-ins and make a little money for themselves. That is essentially what it is. There's no mincing words here. The COVID-19 relief distribution was a little hustle for the PPP people, many of whom have bought cars and renovated their homes, started to build new homes on the backs and on the monies that were supposed to be going to distribution to relieve the Guyanese people of the little hardship. You're done sending hundreds of public servants home. The little private sector work jobs closed, shut down because of the pandemic. And this we can't get right. This distribution of little money, little pickings to the people we can't distribute properly and fairly. We got to be like this every time. Huh? The simplest of things, we can't shut our eyes to the politics and the stupidness and realize that Guyanese are in need of some little relief, a little 25,000. We got to turn it into a hustle. Huh? that is where we are. That's how bad we are as a nation. We give the COVID relief responsibility over to the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, the tin pot dictator, Dharamlal. And what happens to it? Mass confusion. Shambolic. That's what it is, a shambles. In a country where we have to service so few persons, we don't have 1 million people here. We can't figure out how to equitably and fairly distribute $25,000 to everybody. Oh, you gotta discriminate with the little pickings. So we have pockets of PVP agents and activists in every region who are responsible for this distribution. We ain't pulling any punches here. These are things that were reported to us. And then investigations were done. We know the field agents, we know the PVP people who distributing the money, who are in charge of distributions for various regions. We know them. We know them. So it's no secret. And you can't figure out. So we turn it over to Dharamlal, who is the producer of what we call confusion powder. Everything he touches is confusion. Every single thing he touches is confusion. So now we have billions, right? Millions of Guyana dollars being whittled away in the fields, ending up in corrupt hands instead of in the pockets of the people that need it, that are so desperately in need of a little 25,000 for buy a little grocery, because everybody else getting it. And that's the thing, you know. Fair expectation. This single mother that gets sent home because you feel that she's a cleaner at some ministry, and you feel that she was hired under the AP and you AFC, and she look a little dark. She sent you home. Huh? There's a fair expectation. Because if my neighbor living in the, not my neighbor, the people in the other village come in and tell you, look, Cousin Babu and this person and the person, everybody in the house get 25. But they reach my village and they ask me if I own the damn house. That we can't get right. No sense of humanity will tell you that at the most basic level, this is something that we should do properly. And I've realized that I have, my expectations of the PVP are too high. Over time, I've realized that I sometimes set the bar too high for them. Sometimes I set the bar too high for the PVP. Right? Basic humanity. They are incapable of basic humanity. The bar is, this is the bar, basic humanity. Ensure that people who are suffering, Guyanese who are suffering, get the $25,000. That's how low the bar is. right here and they stumble on this bar. They can't get over that. A basic expectation of an average citizen is to think that the government would want to help Guyanese who are suffering. But we have thousands of persons in this country who was open the answer and the government put a pink slip in the answer. The People's Progressive Party does not care about Guyanese people. I can say that without fear of successful contradiction. Or is it that they care about a certain set or a certain type? Or Guyanese people that look a certain way or earn a certain set of money? What is it? Because based on the evidence, I will tell you that my summation is that they don't care about Guyanese people. A government that cares about their citizens don't flood them out. A government that cares about the people don't go and shoot pellets to get them off a land that they ain't got nowhere to go after that. A government that cares about the people don't read two budgets and don't include one single percentage of raise of pay for the public servants? Or is it that they care about a certain type of Guyanese people? That's the question we should be asking. Right? That's the question. If you claim that you care about Guyanese people, how is it that you can look at the thousands of people who didn't collect money, didn't collect their COVID-19 cash grants, who you give pink slips, simply because you put your agents in the field to do what they want? You know, it's a song, do what you want. It's a do what you want, free for all shambles going on with the COVID-19 distribution. Folks, this is what we're saddled with in this country. And I want you to look at every facet. Look how slowly we have returned to pre-2015 Guyana. Look at it. Just pay attention. I said it before on this show that we are going to creep slowly back to the spike in serious crimes in this country. We are going to creep slowly back to the place where we are blacklisted. We are going to be put back on those same blacklists that the APNU AFC fought so hard to get us off of. With almost immediate effect, we saw the excesses and the corruption of the People's Progressive Party on this country. We saw the effects of it almost immediately. And we are going to creep slowly back to that place. But I started when I was talking about COVID-19 grant. So folks with the pink slips, you need to demand more of this fraudulent administration. You need to demand more of this administration, this government, because it is you the citizens, who have to say something. You have to demand and ask, where is your money? You are given a pink slip to hold, like hold this. And folks are in the comments and they're recounting and they're talking about the various things that we have reverted to in this country. whether it be the cocaine shipments, whether it be the increase in serious crimes, whether it be the amount of corrupt officials we see in positions. And that tells a story, folks. That tells a story about where we are heading in this country. Guyana would have taken, and you know, when I say this, I don't take it lightly. Guyana took some strides forward from 2015 to 2020. There was a sense of pride restored, right? A sense of pride restored on the international scene. We took so many strides. We came down on those transparency index. We were taken off of blacklists. And in every single facet now, we are seeing a return to PPP level corruption, PPP level crime, PPP level nepotism. We're seeing it. Folks, we continue to watch. It is a little after the hour, 8 minutes after the 6 o'clock hour. We are going to proceed with our second half of the show, where we are going to be talking with the minister, former minister of housing, minister within the Ministry of Community, is responsible for housing, Ms. Annette Ferguson. And we are going to be unpacking some of what we read in the news today. For those persons who now joined us, let me just bring that up for you so you know what I am talking about. Right. Right. This is the breaking news. The breaking news for today. High Court ruling ordered that Mr. Jagdeo, right, Ferguson had filed a lawsuit against Jagdeo and the Guyana Times while she was in opposition. The lawsuit stemmed from statements Jagdeo made in the media about Ferguson's acquisition of land and construction of her house. Right, like we were saying to you, this is where the lawsuit stemmed from. In the ruling, the judge ordered that the failure of the defendant to comply with the decision of the court, that it would see him being held in contempt of the orders and face imprisonment, or the confiscation of his assets. The case was filed in January 2020 in reference to a statement made by Mr. Jagdeo in December of 2019. Right. Right, so this is the big news, and we're going to be joined very soon. We're actually joined right now by former minister responsible for housing, Miss Annette Ferguson, who is going to be joining us. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you.
Good evening to you, Randy. Good evening to your viewers and also listeners, both home and in the diaspora.
Right.
And thank you
So
for
I
having me on your program.
thank you very much for being here, former minister. Um, so let me just jump right in here. We introduced the story to the viewers. We saw today in from coming in out from those news houses that the High Court ordered Jagdeo to pay Ferguson 20 million in liable judgment. And I just read a bit of backstory about the judgment there and where it stemmed from. Tell us a bit about the lawsuit, Minister.
Oh, okay, thank you very much, Randy. As I said, thank you for having me on your program. And
Go ahead. Go ahead. We're
and
hearing you.
yes, okay, and I'll be more than happy to provide a background to this particular issue. Randy, this whole entire issue came to light when I was transferred from public infrastructure to the Ministry of Communities, the Department of Housing. And at that time, we were actually preparing for the general and regional elections. And it might have been on the 5th of December 2019, at a press conference held by Mr. Jagdeo in his usual rant. He would have accused me of having three house lots and the construction of my home, amongst every other, and amongst every other things that he would have said. And for me, I found that very damaging. I was hurt. I think I was embarrassed because I felt that truth was on my side, and you cannot, as a national leader, be so um irresponsible. You know, you know, during the elections, everybody just be hype up. Everybody will throw things at people, but you have to be very mindful. If you don't have the facts, don't speak. So how can you accuse me, Ferguson, of having three house lots, which I don't have? Right? He was asked. The matter. I asked my attorney at law to view the tape and advise me accordingly. He would have done so, and he said to me that, well, look, we can proceed with the investigation.
So, but we lost connection there with former Minister Ferguson. Hopefully, we get her back. She was explaining there that this was during a press conference when Jagdeo claimed that she had three house lots and spoke some other things about the construction of her home. That case, of course, was reviewed. The information shared by Jagdeo. Whether I don't know who furnished Jagdeo with that information, but it proves to be false, and this information was deemed damaging to the minister, and she filed that lawsuit through her lawyer, and that is a result of what we're seeing today. The results of which we're seeing today in the release here, where it says the court ordered Jagdeo to pay her 20 million. Quite a hefty sum of money there, but we hope to get back the minister. She continues to explain to us and unpack, as we do here, unpack the credible and valid information coming out of that particular lawsuit. Folks, continue to share the live stream as we hold on and we wait. Right, we wait on the connection to be reestablished with former Minister Annette Ferguson. Folks, we see a lot of conversation happening in the comment sections. Folks are saying that some of them are very happy. Some of them are saying that they want to see it happen. But we are going to wait, and as we want to bring back Annette to Minister Ferguson so she can continue to explain. I don't know what happened, but hopefully she'll be back to explain what happened there. If you're now joining us, we are dealing with our top story for today, our in-depth look at this ruling by the High Court that Jagdeo is to pay $20 million to Annette Ferguson, liable. He was found guilty of libel comments that would have been deemed damaging to the minister. Of course, folks, this was in the heart of elections. We were already in election mode. We were. It was December 2019. Jagdeo had his usual press conference rant where he spouts and spews lots of allegations as if they are gospel. So that is what led to this lawsuit, right? We're getting some information here about some stuff at the Denamsel Regional Hospital where there are no drugs. Folks, we're going to be packing this information and giving to you just now, and we're going to, of course, continue um, bringing all of this to light in this show and, of course, in the ring later with Sherry Duncan. But some information just coming to me. Just coming to me. It says sabotage of doctors at the West Dem Regional Hospital. Let me just take this off. I'm just now reading some information here, folks. Right? And no drugs and medications for patient. This is the West Demerara Regional Hospital. This was news coming to us 5 minutes ago. Right? 8 doctors from the West Demerara Regional Hospital resigned today. Resigned today. This is the 30th of March 2021. The resignation is due to the continuous pressure from medical superintendent and regional health officer. Doctors are now faced to work double workloads. They must work accident and emergency and the wards simultaneously. West Demar Hospital doesn't even have a $10 Panadol for patients. Right? This is a report coming, we see posted here. Right? The person said it's a ticking time bomb, the West Demerara Regional Hospital. Right? So we're going to continue watching that. We're joined again by the minister. We're going to bring you more on the West Demerara issue, but we're joined again by Miss Annette Ferguson. Minister Ferguson, thank you very much for rejoining us. I see you have better lighting now.
Yeah.
Let's just, if you can pick up from where you
Well,
left
actually,
off about the case.
yeah, yeah. Well, I was actually in my vehicle, so I just had to, come to a suitable place so that I can continue this conversation. Yes, Randy, as I was saying to your listeners and viewers, this matter was placed before the court after Mr. Jagdio made, allegations or accused me of having three house lots. So the matter was taken before the court after the advice was sought by my attorney at law. And, for 1 year, the matter was actually pending in the court of law, and which Mr. Jagdio had all right, and he had time in which to prove or to support his accusation by way of some evidence. So to date, Mr. Jagdio would have failed to produce any evidence regarding my allocation. Department of Central Housing and Planning Authority. So
Okay.
that's where we at.
That's where we are. I know that there were two lawsuits filed, one also against the Guyana Times. Where is that right now?
Well, I know that is still pending in the court. I guess my attorney would advise me how we would be proceeding with this particular matter, because I must indicate that both matters were actually heard simultaneously, but the representatives, the legal representatives for the Guyana Times, I think they would have indicated to the court that they have some information that they wish to produce or something to that effect, right? But that matter is yet to be determined, and I trust that my attorney will guide me. He will advise me how we would proceed going forward with Guyana Times.
Um, I'm happy to hear that. There's a lot of discussion happening right now about the courts, and we saw a similar case being awarded to Mr. Ramatar. That was the Glen Lal issue. Let us just confirm, though, Minister. the allegations made by Mr. Jagdeo about you and these house lots. What was said in the, I don't know if you can review, but what was said in terms of evidence in the court of where that statement came from?
All right. If I can, I'm looking at the affidavit here before me, and we were seeking three reliefs from the High Court. But early up in 2020, I think it was Justice Nandan Singh who did not grant the injunction that we requested. The injunction, you know, um, to disallow the Jagdeo and his other persons to continuously be speaking out about me having these house lots amongst every other thing. So that we did not get the injunction. But the two other reliefs we were able to be awarded based on the judgment. But this is what Jagdeo said on the 5th of December when he hosted a press conference. I see Ferguson, the one who took three house lots on the East Bank and wouldn't say a word about it. The corrupt Ferguson. I'm calling her out on this. She can
Again, we lost signal with a former minister there, but she was, of course, revealing the statements there with Jack Dew said about her at that press conference. The corrupt Ferguson, he said that owns three house lots on the East Coast. Minister, you're joining us.
Yes, yes, Randy. Oh boy, the internet is really poor today. Yes, as I was saying, I see Ferguson, the one who took three house lots on the East Bank and wouldn't say a word about it. The corrupt Ferguson. I am calling her out on this. She can sue me on this if she wants to. Then he further stated on the 12th of December 2019. This is what he had to say. Every single thing has become a hustle. Remember Annette Ferguson? She had a press conference. Selected members of the media house was invited. Don't know if Kaichor and Stabrook was invited. When she worked at GPO, she had trouble there with misappropriation. Wonder if she had anything to do about misappropriation at GPO. Perhaps that is why Edgel had trouble there as chairman before he became a minister. It was all an excuse. I don't even need to talk about the house. I don't need to talk about it. Look for yourself and you will see the evidence of it. Just before moving from GPO to minister, this is after 2 years of taking office, she started building. Now, Randy, you're there?
Yes, yes, I'm here. I'm here. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are the words which were uttered by Mr. Jagdeo. And what I was pleasantly surprised with is that when he said that I became a minister, um, I became, or just before moving from GPO,
Right. Again, internet issues there with the former minister. But, folks, as I was about to ask this, or about to contribute to this discussion, this has been the modus operandi of Varjagdio for many years. He comes and he sits on Thursdays and he goes on about things that he presumes that he knows and speaks to his base. He speaks to, as people say, the persuadables. He speaks directly to them about how, and in this case, he even said, he's calling Annette Ferguson out on this and she could sue me if she want. Well, she did. And now you have to pay her $20 million. That is the reality of it. That is the reality because I would have always said that we have these press people, supposedly press people. Some of them are good at their jobs and some of them, can be found wanting. But they sit there, many of them just take in the foolishness that Jack Dio says, and then they regurgitate it in some papers or some article or some newscast somewhere. And this is a modus operandi. Nobody questions. Now imagine if, and I'm going to bring the minister back in, imagine if someone had said or challenged Jack Dio on that day and said, well, Mr. Jack Dio, what is your proof that Miss Annette Ferguson has treehouse lots or has misappropriated funds at wherever she used to work? What is your proof? Where's your source? Who's telling you these things? So, and he went on to say she can sue me. And she did. Mr. Ferguson, you're live again.
Yeah.
But
Thank you. Thank
I
you
was
very much.
speaking there about the modus operandi, how he just throws things out. This is not something new. He does this and tries to throw what the people call in other parts of the world, the politics, red meat to his supporters. And, you know, I am happy that somebody took him to task on this. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Minister.
but Randy, this has really brought a lot of hurt to myself and to my entire family. My family, more so my siblings, they were all exposed, when people passing, people pointing them out and all manner of things. So their lives were at risk. And, I being a public figure too, people pointing out, what that was doing to me is as though, I committed some fraud. I just took upon myself. How can I give myself three house lots? And even though I try to qualify everything by, putting my evidence out there, what is further harmful is that every time in the National Assembly, you got Kwame McCoy, who is talking about 4 house lots. You understand me? And a mansion. What mansion are you talking about? What are you talking about? So these things were very damaging to me because, I grew up in the church and I know about honesty and decency. You understand me? And when your Christian brothers hear these things, people would tend to look at you differently. Rather than you helping people, it seems as though you were helping yourself while in government, which is far from the truth. So, Randy, before I became a minister of the government, and I want your viewers and listeners to hear me quite clearly. When I left school, my first place of employment was the Guyana Post Office Corporation. All of that is being reflected in the core documents. From school, it is the Guyana Post Office Corporation. When I left, I started as a clerk too in the Human Resource Department. When I left the post office in 2008, I was properties manager. All the assets, all the buildings of the post office, 65 buildings, I and it Ferguson had responsibility for. Pleasance Post Office did under my watch. Fort Wellington, Benab, Weldad, fellowship on the west bank of Demerara. We had Wales. I think I did some work on Wales. I did some work on Prudence. I did iTunes from bottom up. I handled millions for the Ghana Post Office Corporation, and I never was accused of misappropriation. And Mr. Edgel, who is now a sitting minister of the government, he was the chairman of the board when I was properties manager for the Ghana Post Office Corporation. So all these things you uttered and put out there to make Ferguson look as though, or make people feel as though Ferguson cannot be trusted. She's dishonest. She's a criminal. She's corrupt and all kind of thing. And after 1 year, Randy, you cannot prove what you would have said. You cannot prove everything. I applied for piece of house lot under the People's Progressive Party Civic. So when I became a minister of the government, I had all right, like any Guyanese, to follow through with my application. Randy, I had to put my hand in a brown envelope to pull out my lot number like any ordinary Guyanese. And it's one lot. And I have one title. All of this information, Randy, is in the core documents. So all those who want to read whatever, it's right there for all to see. I have nothing to hide. And as I said, this was hurting to me, and I'm so happy that justice has been served. I have been vindicated. So all who had a negative perception, well, they got a different perception now because I stand on truth and I stand on righteousness.
I am extremely happy, Minister, that this has played out this way because, as you said, you've endured the brunt of the attacks from people like Kwame in the assembly because of this narrative put out there by Jagyo. These things that he seemed to pull out of the air, I shall say. I shall change my word, my word and say out of the air, and just put this out there, And this during the elections, especially, this was a tactic by the PPP. Let's just throw spaghetti on the wall and let's see what will stick. What will the people believe? What will the people believe? And we even saw it, if you can remember, with the Global Witness report, where we found out that it wasn't true. A lot of it they pulled back, and so that was some of the spaghetti that stuck on the wall with the voters. You had people talking about Annette Ferguson, and every Thursday Jagdi would come out and just spill these things, and some, a lot of it is very damaging. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what, Randy? I just want to add this point. When the 12th Parliament commenced on the 1st of September, if my memory serves me accurate, when we took our oaths as members of Parliament, every time there is a sitting and you're there and you have to be exposed to all these negative things being thrown, especially by Mr. Kwame Mackay. I personally went to the speaker on 3 occasions. I said, Mr. Speaker, please, there's a matter between myself and Mr. Jagdeo that is being adjudicated in the court of law. I'm hearing the honorable member, Mr. Kwame Mackay, continuously referring to me of having 4 house lots. You understand me? 4 house lots. I'm asking you to please correct the honorable member.
Well, I'm
He
sure that
never,
Kwame
he
Kwame
never,
wouldn't.
Randy, he
Yeah.
never. You know what I had to do? I had to formally
You
I
there?
had to write the speaker formally. Yeah, I write the speaker to say to him, this matter is before the court. Randy, even to that, the speaker did not seek to pull the honorable member up. So I'm happy that the court was able to look at all that I was able to put before them, and what Mr. Jagdeo has not put before them to substantiate his claims. So I'm happy that the court would have made their decision. So let's see where it goes from here.
Right. I'm sure that Kwame Mackay would not want to make any public utterance on this particular matter after he would have seen what played out today. But Minister, before we go, I want to address some parliamentary, not only with parliamentary issues, but I want you to give us an update of what is happening on your end. As it relates to your parliamentary duties. I know that we had parliament in a couple of days, and but I know work is being done behind the scenes. If you wouldn't mind giving our viewers a little update of what is happening on your end of the woods.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Well, I'm actually shadowing the Ministry of Housing and Water, right? With a little responsibility of public infrastructure. Well, I must say that since the budget, we have not, the Parliament has not reached since for further business. But what I do know is that during the budget debate, we had a whole issue with Tabitha and Kwame Mackay, where he, assaulted her. So
Yes, yes.
we were unable to complete the questioning on the estimates of the 383.1 billion budget that was presented by Ashley C. But what I have been doing is that the questions that I had prepared to ask the honorable member, Mr. Colin Crowell, I have since submit those questions in writing for a written response. There is also the last week, it might have been, or week before the last, I note that the Ministry of Housing would have signed in excess of 199 contracts, of which 13.8 billion Guyana dollars was actually approved for those 199 contracts to build, I think, 290 housing units and also to do infrastructural development. But I must let you know that the budget under the capital side of things only caters for, I think, is 6 billion Guyana dollars. So I have prepared a few questions for the honorable member because I need to know where they got the $6.9 billion from, the difference from, So I'm awaiting the responses from the honorable member before, I take it to the next step, because I guess based on the responses I will receive, it would warrant me, delving deeper for further questioning or further answers. What else has been happening? Well, I haven't been doing much work in my constituencies as yet. I intend to do so in the new month coming, day after tomorrow. Outside of that, I have been moving around in central Georgetown, meeting different ones, whether in the marketplaces, on the roadside corner, what I mean? I've been doing that. And I must let you know that majority of the persons, the feedback that I've been getting was from People's Progressive Party Civic, because people are fed up from the time they came into government from the 2nd of August. The talk out there is that they would have sent home close to 2,000 people. They haven't given the public servants any increase in wages and salaries, the whole treatment of COVID, the COVID disbursements. So that's the kind of feelings you're getting from the ground, people are also saying that, we got a mafia government, we.
Right. Again, as we've been enduring all day, we saw uh, a bit of internet problems there with the minister. But folks, before we let her go, we'll bring her back in. And I want to, as minister speaks about what she's been doing, I want her opinion, minister, I want your opinion on the fact that we have seen over 30 deaths in this month of March. Even as we've introduced vaccines.
You're talking about the
Yes. Right? We've seen over 30 COVID deaths even as vaccines have been introduced. Folks, this is serious, and this is why I want to talk. This is why I want to talk about it before we leave, Minister, because this has been the most deadly month for this. And we see there's a disconnect between what the government is saying and what the ministers are doing. They have been paguing without masks. They have been seen congregating without masks. And we see the Minister of Health, who seems to be living on a different planet, pushing the vaccine and talking about the measures. And still we've seen over 30 persons dying in the month of March. Right? So I want your opinion on what you believe is happening in our country. What is happening, Minister? What are your thoughts on this? Your thoughts, Minister. We're not hearing you. We don't have any audio from your end. Yeah, go ahead. Still no audio. We don't have any audio. Go ahead. No audio. Seem to be having some issues there. But folks, we are going to be trying to wrap up our program. But we have to talk about this. We have to let people know that they have to protect themselves. And I think we have taken it too lightly. You with us now? You have some audio issues on your end, Minister. Um, as we sort that out, we bring the program, we're trying to bring it to an end, but we definitely want a comment from the former minister before we end the program. Guyanese, please protect yourself. Please, please, we're begging you to do the things that you need to do. We cannot take for granted over 30 Guyanese losing their lives in this 1 month. 1 month. We cannot take that for granted. We can't just brush it aside and say, well, in this month when the COVID-19 vaccine was actually introduced to our country, what is happening? What are we doing? What are we doing? It is unacceptable. It is unacceptable that that is the case. Folks, we want you to continue to do what you need to do as we bring the curtains down on today's show. We want to say thank you very much for joining us. For those persons who are joining us from all over the world, in the Caribbean, right here in Guyana, thank you very much for being a part of the rush this afternoon. My name is Randolph Critchlow. As usual, I say to you, let's continue to work for national development and stay safe as we continue to see the spike in COVID-19 cases and in COVID-19 deaths. Let's protect ourselves and our family members, Guyana. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.